The room was quiet except for the low hum of machines, cold lights flickering above the silver tables, and the faint echo of footsteps on metal floors. Captain Lyra Holt sat calmly in the center of the Galactic Academy's medical bay, her hands resting on her knees. A thin silver band wrapped around her wrist, glowing faintly as it drew a sample of her DNA. "Just routine testing," one of the alien technicians said, his voice shaking slightly as he adjusted the scanner. "Every new recruit must go through it." Lyra smiled politely. "I understand. They've had hundreds of medical tests before." The technician forced a nervous laugh. "Not like this one, human." The scanner beeped once, then twice, then fell silent. The lights flickered red. The technician frowned, leaning closer to the monitor. "That's strange," he murmured, tapping the controls. Another alien scientist walked over, a tall, thin creature with skin that shimmered like glass. "What's wrong?" she asked sharply. "Interference?" The technician shook his head. "No, not interference. It's reading something." "Impossible." Lyra tilted her head. "Impossible," she repeated. The room suddenly felt colder. The lead scientist's eyes widened as symbols flashed across the screen. She whispered, "3 foreign genetic markers, cross-species origin, all from extinct life forms." Her hands trembled. "These are Terran saberwolf, deep-sea reaper, and sky raptor." Every alien in the lab froze. Lyra frowned, trying to process the words. "Extinct life forms," she said quietly. The scientist backed away. "These species were wiped out before your kind even left your homeworld. They shouldn't exist in anyone's blood." The technician looked at Lyra as if she was something dangerous. "How can a human carry DNA from 3 apex predators that vanished millions of years ago?" Lyra stood slowly. "Maybe your machine's broken," she said, trying to sound calm, but the scanner glowed brighter, releasing a pulse that made the air ripple. One of the aliens stumbled backward. "No malfunction," he whispered. "The readings are real." The holographic display above the scanner showed 3 ghostly shapes, each one a monstrous creature. A wolf with obsidian fur, a winged raptor with silver feathers, and a deep-sea beast with glowing eyes, the scientist whispered. "Her DNA is waking them." The door burst open, and 2 armored guards entered, weapons drawn. "By order of the Galactic Council, isolate the subject immediately." Lyra stepped back. "Subject?" she repeated, her voice shaking now. "I'm not sick." The guards moved closer, one holding out a containment collar that glowed with blue light. "This is for your safety and ours," one said. "You are to be taken for observation." "Observation?" she snapped. "I came here to serve, not to be treated like a lab rat." The lead scientist avoided her eyes. Whispering into her communicator, "Notify Central Command. She's confirmed Project Tri-Blood exists." "What project?" Lyra demanded, but no one answered. One of the guards grabbed her arm, and a strange instinct surged through her body. Sudden strength. Fast as lightning, she twisted his wrist effortlessly, his weapon flying across the room. "Don't touch me!" she shouted. The other guard aimed his blaster. But before he could fire, the scanner exploded, sending sparks across the room. The lights died. Plunging everything into darkness, alarms blared, red sirens flashing through the smoke. When the lights returned, Lyra was standing at the far end of the room, breathing hard. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. The lead scientist stared in horror. "Her body is activating," she said softly. "The predator traits are awakening." "It's too soon," the technician whispered. "She's not human anymore." Lyra's voice broke through the panic. "Calm but cold. I am human, whatever your machine says." But inside, something felt different. Her heartbeat slower, her hearing sharper, her instincts wild. She could hear the guards breathing, smell the fear in the air, and she didn't know how or why. The council's voice echoed through the intercom. "Contain the subject or terminate. Do not allow her to leave the station." Lyra turned toward the sound, eyes narrowing. "Terminate," she whispered, "for being born." The lead scientist looked at her helplessly. "You don't understand, Captain. The last time those creatures existed, they destroyed entire ecosystems. Then maybe they shouldn't have made me, she replied bitterly. She moved before anyone could react. Faster than any human, faster than any alien. She grabbed a fallen guard's blaster and fired once, not at them, but at the glass ceiling above. The alarm systems shorted out, and smoke filled the room. "Lyra, stop!" the scientist shouted. "You'll die out there!" But she didn't stop. She ran through the fire suppression mist, the metal doors hissing open as she forced them apart with her bare hands. Her strength was unnatural, her pulse steady. She ran down the corridor, alarms chasing her like ghosts. Voices echoed from every direction. "Lock down the docking bays. Activate drones. She can't escape." But Lyra wasn't listening. Her body moved on instinct, each step calculated, each breath measured. The hallway lights flickered as she reached the observation window. Beyond it, the stars stretched across the void like cold diamonds. "If I stay, they'll kill me," she muttered. "If I run, I might find out what I really am." Behind her, the scientist's trembling voice came through the intercom. "Captain Holt, please listen to me. We can help you." "But you have to stop running." Lyra paused, her reflection staring back at her in the glass. Her golden eyes glowed softly, and for a moment, she didn't recognize herself. "Help me," she said quietly, "or dissect me." The silence answered for them. She placed her hand on the emergency release lever. The outer doors began to open, wind roaring as the vacuum pulled at her hair. "You'll die," the scientist screamed. "No," Lyra said softly. "I'll evolve." And with that she stepped into the darkness. The last thing they saw was her figure drifting beyond the glass, surrounded by sparks and light. Her body shimmered, not dying, but adapting, breathing in the void as if it were air. The scanners went blank, but one final reading flashed across the screen before shutting down. 3 energy signatures, alive and stable. In the command chamber above, the council leader stared at the feed, his voice barely above a whisper. "She carries them all," he said. "The hunter, the reaper, and the raptor," another official asked. "What should we do?" The leader closed his eyes. "Pray she never remembers what she was made for, and somewhere beyond the station, among the stars," Captain Lyra Holt opened her eyes. Her body calm, her mind sharp, and for the first time, the predators in her blood were silent, watching, waiting, as if they too knew this was only the beginning. The cold darkness of space surrounded her like an endless ocean. Captain Lyra Holt floated silently beyond the Galactic Academy station, her breath steady, her eyes glowing faintly gold as the vacuum rippled around her body. Somehow she was alive, her lungs moving even without air, her body adapting in ways no human ever should. She looked at her reflection in the cracked visor of her helmet. "What have they done to me?" she whispered, but the sound vanished into the void. Only her heartbeat answered back, far below, inside the station. Chaos spread like fire, alarms screamed, scientists shouted into comms. She survived the void. One yelled, "Her vitals are stable, no suit protection, no oxygen." The council's voice boomed through the intercom. "Bring her back, dead or alive," but none dared to follow her into space. Outside, Lyra drifted toward a small maintenance shuttle docked to the edge of the hull. She grabbed the side rail and pulled herself inside. The airlock hissed open, flooding her lungs with oxygen. It felt strange, heavy, unnecessary, but she took a deep breath anyway. The shuttle's lights flickered weakly as she pressed a button on the console. The engines hummed, barely working. "Come on," she muttered. Slamming the controls, the shuttle groaned, detached from the station and shot into the darkness. Behind her, the massive Galactic Academy glowed red with warning lights. A fortress now hunting one of its own. Lyra gripped the controls. "If they want to call me a monster," she whispered, "then maybe I should find out what kind." Hours later, the shuttle drifted toward an abandoned outpost floating near the edge of an asteroid belt. Its lights were dead, its antennas broken, but it was safe. She landed roughly, the shuttle scraping against the deck. The silence that followed was deafening. She walked through the outpost corridors. Each step echoing, dust floated like smoke, and broken screens flickered with static. "Someone used to live here," she said softly. Humans, maybe. She found old tools, empty ration packs, even a faded Earth flag. It reminded her of home. But home felt a lifetime away as she explored. She found a working console deep inside the main control room. Its power core flickered when she pressed the switch. "System rebooting," the computer said in a robotic voice. A holographic file appeared. Labeled Project Triblood. Her heart skipped. "That name again," she whispered. She tapped the file open. The hologram showed a human scientist in a white coat speaking to the camera. "If you are seeing this," he said, "then our last experiment survived." Lyra's eyes widened. "What experiment?" the hologram continued. "We combined 3 genetic lines of Earth's greatest predators to create humans who could survive extinction itself." She froze, staring at the hologram. "Survive extinction," she repeated slowly. "You mean they made us this way?" The scientist's voice trembled in the recording. "But the council found out. They called us dangerous, unnatural. They tried to destroy every record, every bloodline, if you exist. They failed." The video ended with a warning: "Trust no one. The predators inside you will protect you, but they will change you." Lyra sat in silence. Her hands shaking, she whispered to herself, "They turned humans into weapons." The outpost creaked as metal expanded under the cold. Then she heard it, a faint click, like a bootstep. Her eyes narrowed. "I know you're there," she said. Her voice echoed through the corridor. A shadow moved behind her. She turned quickly, grabbing a metal rod. "Easy," a calm voice said. A tall alien stepped into view, his silver eyes sharp, his movements careful. "You're not supposed to be here." "Neither are you," Lyra said, holding the rod steady. "Who sent you?" The alien raised his hands. "No one. I'm not your enemy. My name is Kareth. I used to work for the council. But I quit when I learned what they did to your kind." Lyra studied him. "My kind," she repeated bitterly. "You mean the monsters they created?" Kareth shook his head. "No. The soldiers they feared." He glanced at the flickering hologram. "You found the records." She nodded. "You knew about this." "I was one of the scientists assigned to destroy them," he said quietly. "But I couldn't. I saved a few copies. Hidden in outposts like this, I knew one day someone like you would come." Lyra frowned. "You talk like I'm part of some prophecy." "Not prophecy," Kareth said. "Survival. Humanity didn't vanish. It evolved." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "But you must understand, the council will never stop hunting you. They fear what you are because they can't control it." Lyra looked down at her hands, the faint gold light glowing under her skin. "Then tell me how to control it," she said. Kareth hesitated. "You don't control it," he said. "You make peace with it." Before she could reply, the station shook violently. The lights flickered red again. "They found us," Kareth said. "Council drones." Through the cracked window, Lyra saw a swarm of small attack ships approaching, lasers flashing across the dark sky. "We have to move," Kareth shouted. Lyra grabbed his arm. "You know a way out," he nodded. "Follow me." They ran through the metal corridors as explosions echoed. Fire burst through the vents. "We can't outrun them in the open," Kareth yelled. "They'll track us by energy signatures." Lyra stopped suddenly. "Then I'll give them something to track." She turned and sprinted back toward the control room. Ignoring Kareth's shout, the drones closed in outside, firing plasma bursts that shook the outpost walls. Lyra grabbed the old power core, ripped out its safety unit, and forced it into overload. Sparks flew, and heat rippled through the air. "What are you doing?" Kareth yelled from the hallway. "Buying us time," she replied. The explosion tore through the station seconds later, a wave of fire and debris engulfing everything. The blast cleared the drones, and in the wreckage, 2 figures stumbled out of an emergency escape pod. The stars stretched above them, cold and endless. Kareth groaned. "You're insane," Lyra smirked. "That's one of the traits, I think." He looked at her. "The predators in you, they're not done changing you." She looked away. "Then they better hurry, because I'm done running." As their escape pod drifted into deep space, the last transmission from the destroyed outpost reached the Galactic Council. Static filled the chamber, followed by a single image. A woman with golden eyes standing amid fire. Untouched, calm, the council leader stared at the screen, his face pale. "Find her," he ordered quietly. "Before she finds Earth," and somewhere in the dark, Lyra looked toward a distant blue star. Her heart beat slowly, power pulsing beneath her skin. She whispered to herself, "If they made me to survive extinction, then I'll show them what survival really means." The escape pod floated silently through space, its hull cracked and glowing faintly from the explosion. Lyra sat inside, staring at the endless stars. Her golden eyes reflected the light of distant suns. Gareth worked beside her, typing commands into the flickering console. "We're drifting without fuel," he said quietly. "And the council will track us soon." Lyra leaned back. "Let them try," she said coldly. "They think I'm a weapon. Maybe it's time they find out what kind." Gareth stopped typing. "You don't understand. They will send hunters." "Not soldiers, hunters?" she repeated. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "Special units trained to find and eliminate hybrids like you. They were created after the last tri-blood experiment escaped." Lyra frowned. "There was another?" Gareth nodded slowly. "Yes, 50 years ago. The council found one of the old bloodline survivors. They tried to capture him, but he turned on them. Destroyed 3 fleets before vanishing into deep space." Lyra looked away, her voice soft. "So I'm not the first," before Gareth could reply. The console beeped. "Incoming transmission," a robotic voice said. The screen flickered, showing the face of a tall alien woman in council armor. Her skin shimmered silver, her eyes sharp and cold. "Captain Holt," she said, "I am Commander Vera of the Galactic Hunters. You are to surrender immediately. You are a danger to every living species." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Funny, you say that as if I asked to be made." "This is not a debate," Vera said sharply. "Power down your vessel or we will open fire." Lyra leaned forward. "You can try." The transmission ended. Gareth looked at her nervously. "She's not bluffing. They have cloaked ships. They'll strike from stealth. Then we hit first," Lyra said, pressing a button on the console. The escape pod jolted as she redirected power to the external emitters. "What are you doing?" Gareth shouted. "This pod isn't built for combat." "Neither am I," she said, "but I've survived worse." The stars around them shimmered, revealing 3 massive ships emerging from invisibility. Their hulls gleamed like obsidian, their cannons glowing red. "They've locked onto us." Gareth shouted, "Brace yourself!" Lyra closed her eyes, her hands gripping the console tightly. Her heartbeat slowed, the golden light under her skin brightened. "Don't move," she whispered. Then in a flash, energy surged through the pod. A shockwave burst outward, rippling across space. The enemy ships staggered, their systems flickering. "What did you just do?" Gareth gasped. Lyra opened her eyes, glowing brighter than before. "I didn't," she said quietly. "They did." The nearest ship fired a plasma beam, but it bent mid-air, curving around the pod like it struck an invisible wall. The energy formed a shimmering aura around Lyra's body. "It's the Predators," Gareth whispered. "They're protecting you." Lyra shook her head. "No! They're protecting themselves." The aura pulsed once more, sending waves of pressure across the battlefield. The alien ships began to back away. Commander Vera's voice filled the channel again. "She's adapting. Pull back before—" But her words were cut off by a sudden explosion. One of her ships was torn apart by its own energy. Lyra gasped. "I didn't mean to." Gareth grabbed her shoulder. "You have to focus. They'll destroy themselves if you don't stop it." "I can't control it," she shouted. Her heartbeat echoed like thunder, the light spreading across her arms. "It's like they're alive inside me." Gareth tried to steady her. "Listen to me. You can suppress it. You have to think like a human, not a weapon." Lyra closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe slowly. The lights dimmed, the energy calmed. The remaining ships retreated into hyperspace, leaving behind silence and floating debris. The pod spun slowly through the wreckage. Gareth stared at her in disbelief. "You just took down 3 hunter ships without firing a single shot." She looked at him, fear in her eyes. "That wasn't me," she whispered. "That was something older." "Older?" He asked. "What do you mean?" She rubbed her temple. When the energy flared, I saw something. Memories that weren't mine. Creatures running through forests, hunting, roaring beneath alien skies, I think. I think they remember what extinction felt like. The silence between them grew heavy. If these instincts are returning, Kareth said slowly, then you might be the bridge between human and predator. You could be what they were trying to create all along. Or destroy, she said quietly. The console beeped again, showing a nearby planet on the scanner. Atmosphere stable. Ruins detected. Kareth leaned closer. That's the old colony world of Ilaris. Abandoned after the first Council Wars. It might have the original labs. Lyra nodded. Then that's where we're going. The pod descended into the planet's thin clouds, breaking through into a world covered in dust and old structures. Cities long dead, towers fallen, silence ruling the land. They landed near a half-buried complex, with faded symbols on the walls. Lyra ran her fingers across the ancient markings. Human script, she whispered. This place was built by my people. Inside, the halls were dark and cold. Only the hum of old machines filled the air. Kareth found a terminal still active. He pressed a few keys, and a hologram flickered to life. The same scientist Lyra had seen before appeared again. His image older now. To whoever carries the tri-blood, he said. You were not made to destroy. You were made to survive what the galaxy could not. But survival has a cost. Every generation loses a part of its humanity. Lyra's voice broke. He's talking about me, the hologram continued. If you wish to remain human, you must find the control core. Hidden within the final colony, Earth's forgotten twin. The message ended. The room silent again. Kareth turned to her. He's giving you a choice. Evolve or remain human. Lyra looked at the glowing walls. And what if I'm already something in between? He didn't answer. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying whispers that almost sounded like growls. Lyra closed her eyes, her senses alive again. They're calling, she murmured. The predators in my blood. They want to be free. Kareth looked uneasy. And what happens if they are? She opened her eyes, glowing gold in the darkness. Then maybe the galaxy finally learns what humans were meant to become. As they stepped out of the ruins, a shadow passed over the sky. Lyra looked up, spotting a massive ship emerging from hyperspace. Its design older than any council craft, a warship from humanity's lost age. The markings on its hull were clear, Terra Protectorate. Kareth stared in disbelief. That ship shouldn't exist, he whispered. Lyra's heartbeat quickened. Then maybe extinction isn't the end after all. The wind roared across the dead planet as the ancient human warship descended slowly, and for the first time in centuries, humanity's ghosts returned to the stars. The old warship loomed above the ruins like a sleeping giant, its hull scarred by time, but still glowing faintly with ancient power. Captain Lyra Holt and Kareth stood in silence as dust swirled around them. The warship's engines hummed softly, awakening after centuries of silence. It's human, Kareth whispered, his eyes wide. No one has built ships like that for hundreds of years. Lyra nodded slowly, her pulse quickening. Then maybe someone is still out there. She stepped forward, her boots sinking into the ash. Let's find out who's flying that thing. They walked toward the landing zone as the massive ramp lowered. Steam pouring from its sides. The air trembled with energy. At the top of the ramp stood a man in dark armor, his face hidden beneath a helmet with a glowing red visor. Captain Lyra Holt! His voice boomed through the speaker. You shouldn't exist, Lyra frowned. You're a little late to tell me that. The man took a slow step forward. My name is Commander Dre, Terra Protectorate. I'm under orders to secure any surviving tri-blood specimens. Kareth tensed. Specimens! Lyra's eyes hardened. You mean humans? Dre's tone didn't change. Not anymore. You carry DNA that could destroy everything humanity built. I'm here to make sure it doesn't. Lyra clenched her fists. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be your experiment. It doesn't matter, Dre said coldly. You're the last of Project Tri-Blood, and you will come with me. And if I refuse? She asked. Dre raised his hand and drones hovered into view, their red lights blinking like eyes. Then I'll do what the Council failed to do, Kareth whispered urgently. Lyra, we can't fight him, not with his tech. Maybe not, she said quietly. But I don't need tech. The air around her shimmered as her pulse sped up, the golden light beneath her skin growing brighter. Dre took a step back, his visor flickering. Power readings increasing, contain her! The drones fired plasma bolts, but the energy bent mid-air, twisting like smoke before dissolving. Lyra's voice echoed softly. You call me a threat, but maybe I'm what you made to protect yourselves. The ground trembled as her power surged. Dre raised his weapon and fired. A blast of blue light struck her square in the chest, throwing her backward. She hit the ground hard, the world spinning. Kareth shouted her name, running toward her. She's not dead, Dre muttered, approaching carefully. Her vitals are stabilizing too fast. Lyra opened her eyes. Glowing brighter than before, her voice was low but steady. You're right, she said. I don't die easy. She grabbed his arm before he could react, the metal of his armor bending under her grip. You want to see what tri-blood really means? She slammed him into the ground, the impact shaking the ramp. Dre coughed, his visor cracking. You think you're powerful, he growled. But I've seen what you become. Then you know how this ends, she hissed. You can't stop evolution, he smirked, blood on his lips. No, but I can delay it. He pressed a hidden button on his gauntlet. A burst of blue energy surrounded Lyra, locking her in a containment field. She struggled, the energy crackling around her. You can't cage this, she shouted. You can't control me. Kareth tried to help, but was thrown back by a shockwave. The field tightened, glowing brighter. Dre staggered to his feet, his voice strained. You think you're special, but the council was right. You're too dangerous to live. Lyra's body shook as the energy dug into her skin. She felt pain, anger, and something else, instinct. The predators within her stirred, whispering through her mind. Break the cage, her heartbeat thundered, the field flickering as her strength surged. Dre took a step back. Impossible, he whispered. No one can overpower that field. Lyra opened her eyes, now burning like molten gold. I'm not no one, with a roar. The field shattered, sending shards of energy flying. Dre was thrown across the deck. Landing hard, Lyra stood, her breath steady, her eyes glowing brighter, the light around her body twisted like living fire. Kareth crawled to his feet, staring in awe. Lyra, your skin, it's changing. She looked down. Faint markings were forming on her arms, symbols glowing beneath the surface like old scars awakening. She whispered, they're not just instincts. They're memories. Dre struggled to stand. You don't understand what you're unleashing. If that DNA fully activates, you won't be human anymore. Then maybe human isn't enough, she said quietly. He aimed his blaster again, but she raised her hand. The weapon disassembled mid-air, every part floating between them. I don't want to fight you, she said, but if you keep coming, I will end you. Kareth stepped forward. Dre listened. The council lied. They made her to save us, not destroy us. Dre's visor flickered again, showing tired eyes behind the glass. You think I don't know what they did? He said softly. I was part of it. I helped erase every trace of tri-blood, because we were afraid of what it would become. And now you see what it really is, Lyra said. A chance for humanity to evolve. He lowered his weapon slowly. If I let you go, they'll hunt me too. She nodded. Then come with us. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he sighed. You have no idea what's waiting for you beyond this planet. Maybe not, Lyra said. But I'm done hiding. She turned toward the ship's interior. We'll need this warship, Kareth said. Can you fly it? She smiled faintly. If it's human, it'll listen. She touched the control panel, and the ship came alive, lights spreading through its corridors. The voice of the ship's AI filled the air. Captain authorization recognized. Project Tri-Blood Command restored. Kareth blinked. It knows you. It should, Lyra said quietly. I think this ship was made for me. As the engines roared, the planet below began to shake. Old defense systems activated, targeting the rising warship. Dre ran to the controls. The council built fail-safes into every Tri-Blood base. They'll try to destroy you before you leave orbit. Let them try, Lyra said. Pulling the ship upward, missiles streaked toward them. but the ship's shields flared golden, absorbing every impact. When the smoke cleared, the sky was empty. Only the Terra Protectorate warship soaring into space. Dre watched the stars from the viewport. "You know this means war," he said. "The Council won't stop." Lyra looked out into the void, her reflection glowing faintly. "Then let them come," she said softly. "They created me to survive extinction. They should have remembered that I'm very good at it." The warship vanished into the black, its engines leaving trails of light behind. Somewhere deep inside the ship, the ancient systems whispered to life, "Welcome home, Tri-Blood." The stars outside seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, and for the first time, Lyra didn't feel alone. She felt like part of something far older, something ready to rise again. The warship drifted through the silent dark, its engines humming like a heartbeat in the void. Captain Lyra Holt stood at the viewing deck, watching stars pass by like cold sparks. Her reflection glowed faintly against the glass, golden light pulsing beneath her skin. "They'll come for us soon," Dre said, stepping beside her, his armor dented and blackened. "The Council doesn't forgive traitors," Lyra smiled faintly. "Then they'll find we're not easy prey." Kareth entered from behind, carrying a data pad. "I intercepted a transmission," he said. "They know where we're headed, Earth's twin world." "The one from the hologram." Lyra turned to him. "Then we move faster." The ship's AI spoke in its calm human voice. "Coordinates locked. Estimated arrival in 12 hours. Warning, incoming energy signature detected." Alarms echoed through the corridor. Lyra spun toward the screen. "Show me." A holographic projection appeared. 3 massive ships, larger than any she had seen before. Their hulls bore the Council's seal. Glowing crimson, Dre's expression hardened. "That's the Council's elite fleet. They don't send those unless they want something erased." "Then they made a mistake," Lyra said. "Because we're not something. They're dealing with someone." The first blast struck without warning. Shaking the entire ship, sparks rained from the ceiling. "Shields at 70%. The AI reported. Kareth gripped the console. "They're using gravity weapons. They're trying to crush us. Redirect power to counterbalance," Dre ordered. "And prepare the cannons." "No," Lyra said sharply. "Not yet." Dre stared at her. "They're going to tear us apart." She looked out the window, her voice calm. "Not if they think we're already dead." She closed her eyes, the golden light inside her body dimming until her skin looked pale. "AI, deactivate all major systems," she said. "Make it look like we've lost power." The ship went silent, drifting like a dead hulk. The enemy vessels slowed, scanning the wreck. "They think they got us," Kareth whispered. Lyra waited, breathing steadily. Her eyes flicked open, glowing faintly again. "Now," she whispered. The warship roared back to life, every cannon lighting up at once. Energy beams tore through the darkness, slicing one of the Council ships clean in half. The explosion painted the stars in fire. The other 2 fired back. But the warship twisted and rolled with impossible precision. "Who's flying this?" Dre shouted. "You are," the AI said flatly. "I'm just following her instincts." They looked at Lyra, who stood motionless, eyes glowing bright. Her voice came out calm but deeper, layered. "They think they understand war. They forget who invented it." The battle raged across the stars, metal colliding, light tearing through the void. Inside the control room, Kareth shouted, "Shields dropping fast." "Hold steady," Lyra said. "We only need one opening." The Council fleet launched drones, thousands of them swarming like insects. "They're overwhelming the defenses." Dre yelled. "Then we take the fight to them," Lyra said. "Prepare for boarding." Dre blinked. "Boarding? Are you insane?" She looked at him, eyes burning gold. Probably, moments later, the warship rammed into the nearest enemy cruiser. The impact shook both vessels. Metal screamed as corridors collapsed. Lyra led the charge through the breach, moving faster than human eyes could follow, her claws half light. Half energy tore through the armored guards like paper. Kareth followed, blaster in hand, shouting, "We just needed to talk to them, not destroy them." "They wouldn't listen," she said, "so now they'll listen in fear." They reached the bridge of the enemy ship, where Admiral Kale, a reptilian alien with cold eyes, waited with his guards. "Surrender, human," he hissed. "You don't know what power you're playing with." Lyra stepped forward. "I am that power." The guards opened fire, but the bullets melted mid-air. The heat around her body too strong. Kale backed away. "You can't stop what's coming," he growled. "The Council's judgment is final. So is extinction," she replied, and slammed her palm on the ship's command console. The system flickered, then froze. "What are you doing?" Kyle shouted. "Rewriting the rules," she said, back on the Terra Protectorate. Dre struggled with the controls. "The enemy ship's power is spiking." "She's overloading their reactor," Kareth said. "She'll kill herself." "No," Dre muttered. "She's making a point." Moments later, a shockwave burst through space, the enemy ship disintegrating into light. From the explosion, Lyra emerged, surrounded by energy, floating through the wreckage. Her voice came through the comms, calm as ever. One ship left. The last Council cruiser tried to flee. Jumping to hyperspace, Lyra raised her hand, and space itself rippled. The fleeing ship froze mid-jump, caught between dimensions. "She's bending gravity," Kareth whispered in awe. Dre stared at her through the viewport. "She's more than tri-blood now." The ship disintegrated silently, leaving behind nothing but fragments. Lyra floated back to the warship's hull, landing softly. The energy faded. Her eyes dimming to normal, she looked exhausted. Breathing heavily, Kareth rushed to her. "You shouldn't push yourself like that." "If I don't," she said. "They'll never stop." Dre crossed his arms. "You've made yourself the biggest threat in the galaxy." "Good," she said, looking up at the stars. "Then they'll finally see what they created." The ship's AI interrupted. "Incoming long-range transmission detected." The screen flickered to life, showing a familiar face. The Council speaker, his pale skin glowing under golden light. "Captain Holt," he said smoothly, "you have caused great damage, but perhaps we can end this peacefully." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Peace?" she asked. "Now you want peace?" The speaker smiled faintly. "You misunderstand. Peace does not mean mercy. It means silence." Behind him, massive shapes appeared, thousands of ships. "Enough to darken entire star systems," Dre muttered. "That's the full Council armada," Kareth whispered. "We can't fight that." Lyra watched the display quietly. Her voice was steady, almost calm. "Maybe we don't have to," Dre frowned. "What are you planning?" She turned to the AI. "How much power can the ship's core handle?" "Enough to rewrite the laws of physics," it replied. "If you survive it," she smiled faintly, "then maybe it's time we change the laws." The ship began to glow, light spreading through every corridor. "Lyra, what are you doing?" Kareth shouted. "Ending this," she said softly. The energy built until the stars outside blurred. A massive pulse erupted from the warship, washing across the void. The Council armada fired, but their weapons turned to dust before reaching her. The pulse expanded farther, shaking the galaxy itself. When the light faded, the warship floated silently, undamaged. The Council fleet was gone, erased as if it had never existed. Dre stared at the empty void. "What did you do?" he whispered. Lyra looked out the window, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "I gave them extinction," she said. "The same one they feared." Kareth stood speechless. "You destroyed them?" "No," she said softly. "I balanced the scale." The warship drifted quietly again, stars shining peacefully outside. Lyra turned away from the window. "Now," she said, "we find Earth's twin world, the place where this all began." She walked toward the command deck, her voice calm but firm. "Because somewhere out there, the truth about what we are is waiting, and this time, the galaxy will listen." The stars shimmered like cold fire as the Terra Protectorate warship drifted toward a pale blue planet on the edge of known space. The scanners identified it as Eden 9, a world that hadn't existed on any council map. Captain Lyra Holt stood on the bridge, her golden eyes reflecting the distant light. "That's it," she whispered. "Earth's twin world." Kareth leaned over the console. "No transmissions, no satellites. Not even debris." Drake crossed his arms, his voice rough. "Or maybe it's a graveyard." The AI's calm tone filled the room. "Atmosphere stable, temperature within human range." Recommend surface descent. Lyra turned to the others. Prepare the shuttle, we're going down. Kareth hesitated. You think the council never found this place? If they did, she said, they didn't survive it. The shuttle descended through the clouds, thick mist swirling around the hull. When it broke through, they saw a landscape that stole their breath, ancient ruins covered in vines, cities half buried under forests glowing with strange blue light. Rivers sparkled like liquid crystal. Dre stared out the window. Looks like paradise, he said. But I've learned not to trust pretty things. The shuttle landed near a crumbling tower, marked with the faded emblem of Earth. Lyra stepped out first, the air warm and sweet. It's breathable, she said softly. Too perfect. They explored the ruins, the silence heavy. Every step echoed like a whisper of forgotten lives. This place feels alive, Kareth murmured. As if it's watching us. Lyra nodded slowly. Maybe it is. They reached the tower's entrance. Massive doors that opened by themselves as if sensing her presence. Inside, holograms flickered to life, showing scenes of Earth's past, humans building colonies, ships launching into space, and finally war. The images changed to scientists working in labs. The words Project Triblood, Phase 3 glowing across the wall. Lyra's heart pounded. Phase 3, she whispered. There were more experiments. Dre scanned the holograms. This isn't just a base, it's a control center. For what? Kareth asked before Dre could answer. The floor rumbled beneath them, the lights flared, and a deep mechanical voice echoed through the hall. DNA signature recognized. Triblood prime sequence active. Lyra froze. Prime sequence. The voice continued. Welcome home, Captain Lyra Holt. Genetic awakening commencing. The floor opened, revealing a glowing platform beneath her feet. Energy surged upward, surrounding her in light. Kareth ran forward. Lyra! Dre grabbed him. No! You'll get burned alive. The light engulfed her completely. Her body lifted from the ground, golden markings spreading across her skin like fire. She gasped, feeling memories that weren't hers. Images of beasts running under red skies. Oceans filled with glowing predators, wings cutting through storms. She heard voices whispering in her mind. Not words, but instincts. Protect, adapt, survive. The light faded, and she landed softly. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, but her expression was calm. It's done, she said quietly. Dre looked at her warily. What happened? I remember, she said. Everything. The predators, they weren't separate species. They were parts of a single design. Fragments of human evolution we lost. Kareth frowned. You mean you're not a weapon? She smiled faintly. No, I'm the blueprint. The AI from the warship spoke through their comms. Warning, multiple energy signatures approaching from orbit. Dre looked up at the ceiling. They found us, didn't they? Lyra nodded. The council never stops. Outside, the sky turned red as massive ships broke through the atmosphere, their cannons glowing. Kareth shouted, There's too many! Lyra stepped toward the door, her voice calm. Then it's time they meet what they fear most. The first blast hit the tower. Shaking the ground, dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra walked outside, golden light radiating from her body. The council's ships hovered like dark giants above her. Commander Vera's voice boomed through the air. Captain Holt, surrender immediately. Lyra looked up at the sky. You still don't understand, do you? Vera's tone turned sharp. We understand perfectly. You are an error to be erased. Lyra raised her hand, and the air around her shimmered, lightning crackling across the sky. No, she said. I'm the correction. The ground split, and from beneath the surface rose shapes, massive creatures of light and energy, each resembling the extinct beasts from her DNA. A saber-wolf of molten silver, a sky raptor with blazing wings, and a deep-sea reaper that slithered like liquid shadow. The council fleet fired, but their blasts vanished in mid-air. Absorbed by the creatures, Kareth stared in awe. They're real, he whispered. They're part of her. The beasts roared. Shaking the heavens, the ships above tried to flee, but the sky itself bent, time slowing under the pressure of Lyra's power. You built your empire on fear, she said softly. Now you'll see what fear really means. The beasts launched upward, tearing through the fleet like storms. One by one, the ships exploded in waves of light. The clouds burned gold, and the air trembled with every heartbeat. Dre shielded his eyes, shouting over the roar, "Lyra, stop! You'll destroy the whole planet." She turned toward him, her expression full of pain. "I can't stop them, they're me." The beasts howled again, circling above as the planet quaked. Kareth grabbed her hand. "You have to take control. You said their instincts, make them yours." She closed her eyes, focusing through the chaos. Her heartbeat slowed, her breath evened. "They're not monsters," she whispered. "They're memories." The light dimmed. The creatures froze in mid-air, then bowed their heads, slowly fading into the wind. The silence afterward was absolute. Only the soft rustle of leaves remained. The sky cleared, and the sun shone again. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. Kareth ran to her. "You did it," he said, helping her up. Dre looked around the ruins. "What now?" he asked quietly. She looked up at the sky. "Now, we rebuild." Hours later, the warship hovered over Eden 9. Calm and steady, Lyra stood on the bridge once more, watching the planet rotate below. "The council is gone," Kareth said. "The war's over." She shook her head. "Wars never end. They just change faces." Dre turned to her. "And what will you do?" She smiled faintly. "Teach humanity what we really are, not what they feared. We were never meant to conquer the galaxy, only to outlast it." The AI's voice echoed softly. "Captain, long-range scanners show new signals approaching. Not hostile." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Who are they?" "Unknown," the AI said, "but human." Her eyes widened slightly. "Other survivors?" Dre asked. "You think they've been hiding all this time?" "Maybe," she said, "or maybe they've been waiting." The signals grew clearer. Dozens of ships emerging from hyperspace. Old human designs glowing under the light. One transmission came through. "To any survivors of Earth or its colonies, this is the new Terran Alliance. We received your signal." Lyra smiled, her eyes softening. "It looks like humanity finally found its way home." As the fleet joined her in orbit, the golden light around her faded to a soft glow. She turned to her crew. "Let's begin again," she said quietly. "Not as monsters or weapons, but as what we were always meant to be." The warship turned toward the sun, engines roaring to life, and as it vanished into the light, when truth echoed through the stars, extinction was never the end. It was only evolution waiting to wake.